Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about Anne of Green Gables, Fire and Dew. I have no idea why it's even titled this. Anyway, this is the last installment of the PBS Anne of Green Gables, the one that's rated G, and the one that started coming out in 2016. This one came out in 2017, along with the second one, The Good Star. I was really interested to see what this installment would be like because when it comes to Anne with an E, it differed so much from that of the source material because Anne with the E dealt with other stuff that never happened in the book. And so I was really curious. But one thing it did deal with was Anne's academics, her graduating school and, going off to college and this and that. Which Anne with the E spent the entire third season her studying for a test and all this other stuff. Then after graduating, she went back to what's the place she came, Nova Scotia and stuff like that to see to find out about her birth parents. She went back to her old orphanage to see one of the girls who tormented her. Then she went back, they dealt with like this thing with the indigenous people, kids being kidnapped and stuff like that, and all kind of like other stuff. And so I really wanted to know what this actual book installment would actually be about. This movie does cover some of it, but it races through it so quickly and everything. And well, when it comes to this movie, it's probably my least favorite movie, only because it feels so disconjointed, a narrative wise and everything. Because I mean, it just does a couple of skips along. Because first, Anne's 14 years old, then she graduates school, then she's off to college, and we don't get to see much of that. Then she's 16 years old all of a sudden, and she's back at Green Gables and everything. And it's just kind of like, wow, that was really fast in just a few minutes and everything. And it's like, she doesn't interact with her friends that much in the movie. So you don't really get a sense of what really people are truly up to and stuff like that. There's a couple of emotional tug strings that don't really feel earned in this movie because you don't get to see them interact that much with the people on screen. Now, Ella Ballantine still does a good job and everything. Her best line delivery is when the realtor wants to take her house and she's all like, they ain't selling, and if you don't leave the property, I'm gonna get my shotgun. I was feeling that. But everything else in the movie just doesn't flow very well. The chemistry between her and Gilbert still feels like, why do those two even like each other? Like, it don't make no sense. I don't know if it's like miscasting or they don't have enough screen time, or better yet, he's not developed that well in the movies. See, that's the problem with Gilbert in these movies. He is not written at all like the one from Anne with an E. The one from Anne with the E, you get why Anne's in love with this dude. But here, it's just like she just has kind of like a crush, but a stubborn one at that, where it's kind of like she doesn't want nothing to do with him. But at the same time, she can't help but to keep looking at him and everything. And it feels more like teen flirtation. And that's because it's kept on a G level rating and everything. I don't know why they didn't bump it up to PG or PG-13. Like they really wanted to keep this for like the kiddos and stuff. And because of that, it really robs you of a lot of stuff. Especially that with Matthew, when Matthew dies and everything. I didn't really feel sad that he passed and everything. Like, yes, he is kind, he's sweethearted and everything, but Martin Sheen doesn't really play Matthew the way Matthew is in the books or any other installment. He kind of has a little bit of that in other movies, like for like a minute. He'll be like shy or like timid. Well, shy is timid. Or he'll be like a little goofy and stuff, but he's not really awkward. He's just Martin Sheen. And so, like, because him and Anne do spend some time in this movie, it's not enough for them to be like, oh, I'm so sad that he left. 'Cause when he died and they was at the funeral, she literally said she can't cry no more because when she first saw him in that casket, she boo-hooed and everything. But we didn't get to see her boo-hoo. The movie excluded that. And so, like, it just shows her being there, stone faced, just looking at him, and it's just kind of like I would have liked to see some emotion. It's weird. It's like these movies didn't want to go there to like upset people and stuff. Like you just don't feel it's like this movie's been robbed of its emotion and stuff. Like it's weird, you know what I'm saying? It's really weird. And they did film this back to back because this both came out the same year. But when they do that time jump stuff, you really get robbed of a lot of good stuff. Now here's the thing. When Anne first started this, she was 11. Now she's 14 and everything. Well, 11 or 12, depending on which one you go. I think she was 12 in the movie. But anyway, she's 14 now. And so you hear her talking about, oh, I gotta study for my test and blah blah blah, and and all this other stuff, and she hopes she passes. And they put it in the newspaper, people's grades. What the world kind of mess is that? Now, I'm very shocked that they graduate high school at 14 years old and go to college or the workforce after that. But this is Canada under British rule and stuff, so I guess times were just different back then. Now, it is kind of weird because all throughout this movie, Anne no longer looks like Anne. They put her in adult clothing, they put her in an adult hairstyle, and you're meant to believe that you're meant to believe that she's in like her 20s, 30s, and 40s just by the way she's dressing. 'Cause that's the way you see women dress at that time. But, the actress playing her looks so young. So it's weird seeing this little kid supposed to be looking like an adult, but you gotta remember she's supposed to be looking like she's 14 and 16. And the actress was around somewhere around that age and stuff, but it takes you out the picture because she doesn't look grown up. And that's the same problem I have with Anne with the E in season 3. She doesn't look grown up either. This is why I wish that when they make these Anna Green Gables movies, they would just recast as the character is supposed to get older. Because you don't really believe it when you see this youthful look. They always try to pick the most youthful looking person ever. And when they put them in those adult clothes, it just doesn't feel right. But I get they don't want to replace the actress because people love the actress, but it just feels weird and stuff. Because the problem is when you see people dressed like this, like the way Anne is in this movie, it's normally middle-aged women. But that's the way I guess women or teenage girls dressed back then as they became like young women and stuff. So it always feels weird because of the simple fact when you watch these old timely stuff back in like the 1800s and stuff, you don't see teenagers and kids get to dress like this because they always dress like kitty and everything. So it feels weird, but that's how it was back then and everything. We get to see her new teacher, Miss Stacy. It's very brief, like very, very brief. What's the name? Muriel's best friend comments, although I don't like how she teaches physical education and stuff like that. So you don't really get to hear all the crap that the people are talking about the new teacher and all her different newfound ways and stuff, like you do with Anne with the E. So it's just kind of like you don't understand why they have a problem with her and stuff. And of course, she rides a bike and she's supposed to wear, I think, pants, but she kind of does, kind of doesn't. But it's like, and with the E, you can tell they had a problem with her. But she does give Anne some good advice, finally, that mentor type thing that she's supposed to give, you know what I'm saying? But it is towards the end of like the movie, and the teacher is barely there. And so, like, after Anne graduates and everything, of course, she goes off to college to, I think it's Queen's Academy. So you think, oh, okay, we're going to get to see her college life and everything. We do, but it's rushed through very, very quickly. Diane does not attend. She goes someplace else. Gilbert's there, of course. And her and Gilbert really don't even interact. She just looks at him like, oh, guess who got the highest grade in the class? And blah, 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 and stuff like that. Of course, it's him. And they're rivals, but you don't really feel like it that much and stuff. Because in the second movie, it doesn't feel like they have a rivalry and everything, even though they do. And Josie May and all the other ones are still there. Josie May's all like, oh, look how grown up I look and everything. Not Josie May, Josie Pie. That's it, Josie Pie. And so, like, Gilbert tells her, look, man, you studied the wrong book and all this other crap. So then you see her studying the right book. And after that, her college years are just completely over, just like that. And this is like, dude, you only spent like 3 minutes on her college life. It feels like it. But it's weird because over an hour has passed, but nothing has happened. You just see her studying and all this other crap. And there's a lady who runs the boarding house, and you can't never understand what she says. And it's just that. And so then she comes back to Green Gables and she wants to be like a teacher and stuff like that. And she finally interacts with Diane. And it's like her and Diane have so little screen time in this movie. It's like, aren't they supposed to be bosom buddies or something like that? Like, they don't interact that much. They don't even act like they're best friends and stuff. When she comes home, what's her name? Diane isn't married. She doesn't have a kid. They left all that out. And it's just kind of like, why? And everything. And so, no, wait, does that happen when she's 16 or not? No, that happens when she's 19. When what's her name's married and this and that. So anyway, so yeah, I got a little head. That's in like the books and stuff like that. But yeah, back at 16, her and Diane just talk a little bit. That's about it. Diane talks to her a little bit more when Matthew dies at the funeral, but Anne just wants to be alone. So it doesn't even feel like they're bosom buddies and stuff. And they're supposed to be the best of best friends, and it doesn't even feel that way. And so, like, you get like a nice scene between her and Matthew. Then, of course, he just dies and everything. Now, Matthew's been sick for the longest time, but they really don't like emphasize on that much and everything. So you don't know how bad his state of health is. And the bank is under investigation, and they might lose Green Gables, but he doesn't want to lose it and stuff. Her and Muriel barely interact in this, Muriel, whatever her name is, barely interact in this movie. And it's just kind of like, I just don't get it because they're supposed to be such a close family and stuff. Now, Muriel did feel sad when Anne left and she couldn't stop talking about Anne because Anne has had a real profound impact on her life, but you don't feel it by the second and third movie because they barely interact with each other. Now, if this were to be the first movie and the first movie only, and like, I'm talking about the first one that came out, and then you skipped all the way to the third one, then you will understand why Mariel feels the way she does because they had more scenes in the first movie. But it's like, since the second and the third, they barely interact with each other. And it's just like, it's so weird. Matthew and his sister, they died virgins and never married. Isn't that kind of interesting when you really think about it and stuff? But it's like, it's just dumbfounds me how so much stuff happened in the first movie and barely anything happens in the second and the third. And so then next thing you know, after Matthew dies and everything, the realtor comes because Mariel wants to sell the place, but Anne ain't having it. And then Gilbert tells her, hey, look, man, I got this one teaching position at this one place, but I quit to go take another teaching position because I wanted you to have it so you can be closer to home. And she's thankful for all that. But it's just like, they don't even feel like friends. They just feel like acquaintances that just go to class and don't really like each other. But you can tell that they have a flirtation with each other, but it's not really apparent. So then she goes out to Matthew grave, and it's a really sad scene, and she talks to him, and then it just ends like that. And it's just like you don't feel fulfilled in this movie. It's not terrible. It just you don't feel fulfilled and everything. It just feels like what happened to all that great like chemistry and writing and direction from the first movie to where the second and the third one really lacks and everything. And there's no other movies after this, so we're never gonna get to see her and Gilbert actually date. We're not gonna get to see them get engaged, married, have kids, none of that stuff. So, but it would have been awkward because they would have to recast then because she's supposed to be at least in her 20s and stuff and 30s when all that happens. And there's no way the actress, even though the actress is in her 20s now, she still looks youthful because she's 5'1" and everything. Adorable as she is, she just doesn't look like an adult. But what's really interesting is that Anne has come full circle. Like it's weird to see her when she first came to Green Gables and she had the pigtails and the raggedy clothes from the orphanage and she was just a spitfire of a person. She was this chatterbox who would not stop and had all these crazy ideas on wild stories and everything. And I love that version of Anne. As she started getting older, that started to lessen. She started wearing nicer clothes. She stopped wearing her hair in pigtails, started wearing her hair down. She started to grow up. And it's fascinating to see her go from this child to like a teenager and stuff like that. And then by the third movie, she looks like an adult, but she's only supposed to be like 16, but she's close to it. And it's just cool to see that transformation. But when she did get older, her personality started to mature as well. She became less and less and less the person she used to be. It's like she became a very different person, which all of us do most of the time when we get older, but people still keep a bit of their youthfulness there and stuff. But it's just Anne had one amazing story. She came from nothing and now she has like the world. And that's really inspiring. That's why the whole Anne with Green Gables novels are so uplifting to people and stuff. I just wish these last two installments would have emphasized that a bit more. Also, same thing with Anne with the E because it's just kind of like, maybe it's just that first book that's just the most amazing out of all of them. 'Cause that's the one the author actually wanted to write, you know what I'm saying? Because it was the second Anne with the E. I didn't like that season. The third one's all right, but it differs so much from like the book. It's less about Anne like discovering like her future in the world, but it's more about her trying to discover her past she never knew about and trying to help other people and stuff. Like the Anne with the E is just one of those heroines that try to like save people all the time. And that's not really what the books were so much supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about her, progression in life and stuff like that. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.